Before we conclude, do you have any final advice for those working on U.S.-China policy, or is there anything else we haven't covered that you would like to share?
Uh, there is. I'd just like to make a few comments about Taiwan,
Sure.
because Taiwan remains the single most important issue in the U.S.-China relationship. Taiwan has been self-governing under a multi-party democracy for over 20 years now. It is in the U.S. interest to help sustain Taiwan's self-governing status for as long as possible. There are no peaceful avenues for resolving the Taiwan issues, which is basically its international status, under present circumstances and for the foreseeable future. And our policy has always been committed to find a peaceful resolution to its status. So maintaining the status quo is preferable to any current alternatives. And this should be sustained for as long as possible in the hope that better alternatives will emerge in the future. But for the moment, we don't have a stable status quo. Beijing's military pressure on Taiwan is increasing, both to keep it within a one China framework and to cow it into accepting unification as the only viable outcome. Unless the status quo can be stabilized, chances for a military conflict are likely to increase. The only viable way to stabilize the status quo is to increase China's confidence in the American one China policy, which is the stable framework within which Taiwan has been able to develop so dramatically, successfully over the last 40 years. It now has a per capita income equivalent to that of Canada. And when I served in Taiwan back in the 50s and 60s, it was just moving from rice growing to pineapple canning, and then it moved on into electronics and on up the progression. It's been a dramatic success story, and it was made possible by the stability provided by the U.S. one China policy and our commitment to peaceful resolution. And frankly, we have to keep Taiwan strong enough to discourage PRC military adventurism. That also needs to be part of it. But at the moment, our policy is not giving enough attention to trying to lower the tensions over the Taiwan issue in the Taiwan Strait. And I think that this is not in Taiwan's interest, and it's not in the American interest to have a status quo which in the eyes of Beijing is moving in the wrong direction, and that they are prepared to use military force to halt that movement. And that's a dangerous situation, and I think there's something we can do about it, and we're not doing it yet. So this is the big challenge, it seems to me, in the U.S. relationship with China.